It's a beautiful Wednesday. Thank you for joining me on another episode of the Women Series where we capture developments and stories that impact women. My name is Ayomide Oguntoye. Thank you for joining me today. We've had an amazing and quite interesting month where we celebrated women, and while at it, we were also breaking biases. But before we round up the month of March, let's quickly delve into something that we necessarily do not talk about all the time. They say readers are leaders, but how do we begin to read? Where do we get the resources from? Where do we get the materials from? Where do we get the intellectual properties from? That's what we want to talk about today. We want to talk about the book publishing industry in Nigeria. I have a guest with me to do that with me today. But before we meet our guest, let's go on a quick break and we'll be back.
Tune in to Web TV Daily to stay up to date and informed on the financial market, personal finance, and more. We have got you covered with all your favorite TV shows, economy and politics, market review, women's series, Millennial Talk, Islamic Finance Weekly, The Brief, exclusive interviews, events, and we keep you up to date on all the updates in the financial market with the market opening gong. Watch premium content, watch Web TV. Same news, different perspective.
This is wishing a nonagenarian a happy birthday. On behalf of the Women's Series team and everyone in Web TV, we say a happy 90th birthday to Lady Christine Doja Otedola. Age gracefully. Welcome back. It is still the Women's Series program, and today we will be talking about the challenges and the prospects for the book publishing industry in Nigeria. I'm speaking with Ayanfeoluwa Oluwaseun, a book publisher. Hello, how are you doing?
Ayomide.
How are you doing?
Very fine, thank you.
It's not too late to wish you happy International Women's Month.
Thank you, I wish you the same.
How has the month been so far?
It's been eventful, work as usual.
Work as usual, right?
It's been awesome.
And how's the job? Because I feel when I was talking to you, I said that your niche is quite a distinctive niche. Finding that we still have people that are passionate about books, not even about books now, taking it a step further, doing the work of publishing. How has it been so far?
It's been just like any other business. It's been rewarding and challenging at the same time. Most times I have to do a lot of work, convincing people that, see, you have an amazing story, something the world needs to hear about. And then eventually, some will eventually
come around,
while others will like, well, later, there is nothing in my life that is worth, writing about. And that is actually a lie. But all in all, it's been very rewarding. It's been very fulfilling. Because for me, what this business has done is it's given me the opportunity to consolidate. So I started out as an author, but now beyond just being an author, I am now in a position to help other people, to achieve the same thing. People who battle with the popular imposter syndrome, they think, oh, there is nothing to my story, nobody will buy my book. But then I bring them on board, help them to get their books, done, and voila. They start, having speaking engagements, opportunities, and a whole lot of doors just basically opens up to them. So yeah, it's been.
So that's on the part of being an author of a book, right? And then eventually it opens more doors. People begin to call them for speaking opportunities and whatnot. So let's quickly talk about the industry in itself. Now, I understand that Nigeria was said to have had one of the most vibrant book publishing industry, with lots of book publishing houses as far back as the 80s. But along the line, it began to dwindle, and people started seeing it as something, we don't want to use the word extinct, but it's gradually on the verge of becoming extinct. Now, let's talk about the trade now of book publishing where was it before and where is it now?
Just like you rightly mentioned, I mean, it was something that was really booming and doing well in those days. I mean, I'm trying to cast my mind back to when we were, much younger in primary school. We had a lot of books. We had the Alawiyes of this world. I mean, there was this one where we
Ugo
had
see you go.
Ugo see Ugo, Ali and the Angel, all those books. They were published in Nigeria. Of course, we had some books that were, because I remember my big sis then, while she was, observing at NYSC, coming into Ile-Ife, she would buy me books, imported books, A for Apple, B for books and whatever. But we had a lot of indigenous books, being published in Nigeria. So what exactly would I say is responsible for the decline? For me as a person, personally, this is my own personal observation. Nigerians, maybe until recently, we don't really value anything we can't, anything that is not tangible. Book writing is an intellectual thing, all right? So we don't particularly value anything that has to do with intellectual input. And that's the reason why someone, a company would spend so much money, bringing on board authors, publish their books, and then someone somewhere will sit down and pirate those books.
We'll get to that point as well.
I mean, that I believe is one of the things that actually crashed, the book publishing industry in Nigeria. I remember my pastor, I can't remember what year, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago now, there was a particular book that he said, the customs just called him and they said they confiscated a whole container, of his book, a particular title that some guys from a particular tribe in Nigeria that I don't want to, mention, had gone ahead to pirate. And for a long time, my pastor did not release, he refused to write any other, he didn't release any book. There is a particular event that we usually have every year. And each year, he would release a new book and even give us those books. Whatever title that comes out that year, he would give it to us free of charge as we are registering for that event. But for like how many years now? He did not release a new book until recently when he released, a new one. It became a legal thing and he said he was ready to get to the end of the matter, just to serve as a deterrent. So why would you want to do that?
Why would you want to continue?
So there's already
that's already putting someone at a disadvantage.
You understand? So
right.
Those are like two major reasons.
Yeah. So let's talk about the piracy. I mean, I was going to get to that, but now that you mentioned it, let's just talk about it. Could you even speak to the issue of piracy? I mean, where has it got into? And are there even policies, or do you think that the policies that are even set that we have is enough to even kick against piracy?
Of course, I'm sure the kind of damage that it has done. Just like, the example of my pastor that I mentioned now. I remember I also have like a big uncle who used to work in one of the big, publishing firms. And, he did, I remember there was a day we were having a chat and he told us of how a particular title that they had, maybe mathematics textbook or something, that they had just released. Some people decided to capitalize on, and only God knows how they got a copy of the book because it was not even in the market yet. They got it, went to China, no intellectual input, nothing. Somebody had that, just going to somebody else's farm and harvesting what you did not sow. They went and, they published the book and brought it into the country. And he said it is so bad. They are so brazen to the point of they go to all the bookshops. So let's say if the company is supplying the bookshops normally, for instance, maybe the book is meant to be like 3,000. These guys, they go to the bookshops and they tell them, I'll give it to you maybe at 1,000 naira. There's nobody who doesn't want to do that kind of business now. There is nobody.
Right.
Except you have except you are someone who has conscience. Knowing that, no, the company ordinarily doesn't sell this particular textbook at this amount. So it's like cancer. It's difficult, because the thing just keeps spreading. And that's why it's still, happening now. going back to my pastor, he says, I mean, there are days, he's in the traffic and they are even showing him his book. They are selling his book in the traffic, and those guys, they are showing it to him. It's that bad.
So
and
now,
it's because there is nothing clamping down for him. Thank God, maybe because of his name, his status in the in the society and all. But for some, maybe just an upcoming author, or where do you have the legal muscle, to even start pulling anything with anybody things. And it happens at the big level and even at the small level. So it's possible for someone to attend maybe a seminar. Let's say, as Ayomide, you've published a book and the book is doing well. Then you decided to organize a seminar around the book.
To launch
to touch
book, yeah.
people, you taught people one or two things. Don't be surprised. 2 or 3 months after, one of the people who attended your seminar can decide to do an ebook out of what you taught them. And the moment you see it, you'll be like, no, this is me now. Now me do this thing. So it's really, really bad. And I don't know. Yes, we have laws and all of that, but there's no, there is no enforcement, which I think is the major issue that we have in Nigeria. If you can fight it, but really, it's not.
So let's talk about, you've talked about piracy. And of course, I would also want you to touch on policies and regulations, which of course you've said that there are policies, there are laws, but there are no enforcement.
And then there isn't enough enlightenment as well
around that.
It takes you having a lot of guts and then maybe 1 or 2 connections or something to actually, but at maybe this your level, and I'll be like, I beg, anything they like. You can call out the person on social media, but that is where it ends. It still doesn't stop the fact that someone stole something that you birthed, and it's a major discouragement for for creatives.
So now, what should we be doing? We can go on and on and on and on and talk about these problems.
Okay,
those are the challenges. What should we be doing?
I would advocate for enlightenment. Enlightenment and enforcement. Those are the 2 things. Enlightenment and enforcement. So, we have
enlightenment on the path of who? Is it on the part of the publishers or on the part of regulators?
It's going to be a joint work. The regulators, the publishing houses, and what have you. It has to be a joint. It has to be a joint thing. It has to be a joint. It's going to be a concerted effort on everybody's part. So, and of course, if I come to you and then I say, okay, X, Y, Z happened, there should be enforcement. It's not enforcement in the corner of somewhere. It should be glaring that this person stole this other person's intellectual property, and this is what happened to the person. This is, this is the consequence. Because once people see that beginning to happen, then you discover that there will be a bit of, shrinking back. People will think twice before they do it. But people do it and they get away with it.
Now let's sell the publishing industry a little bit. Let's sell it. By selling, let's talk about the prospects that these have. Now, how viable? You've been backstage. You said that you've been working 6 years. How viable is this industry? When we say its contributions to the nation's GDP, because of course Nigeria operates a mono economy up until recently that we're now looking into other sectors that can as well contribute to the nation's GDP, which of course I feel like the book publishing can be resuscitated and which can also contribute to the nation's economy. Now, how viable is this economy with regards to its contributions or its significant contribution to the nation's GDP?
It's very, very viable because we've not even scratched the surface of, the publishing industry in Nigeria at all. Like I mentioned earlier on, you mentioned Ugosi Ugo. I mentioned Alawiye. These were books that sort of prepared us for where we are today. And we still need more books like this. And these books are not just going to fall down from heaven. There are different concepts and different issues emerging in Nigeria every day. And one of the quickest ways to address these things is by writing about them. So how about that?
But do you think, the advent of technology is a threat to...
It is meant to be
hard copies.
It is meant to be an enhancement. It is meant... Because some people don't do well with carrying, paperbacks up and down. So if they are the tech freak, then they can always read on their phones. So it is not meant to be a threat. It is, for me personally, it is meant to be an enhancement. For instance, part of the services we offer is we help people, we help people to put their books on Amazon, our authors. And with Amazon, you have the paperback, and then you have the Kindle version as well. You have the likes of, Bamboo, Okada Books, and all. So basically, what that is meant to do is to make the book available in more ways. So, okay, you don't have Amazon account. Okay, open an account on Okada Books, or open an account, an account. So it's meant to help authors spread the news. It's meant to give them more mileage. It is not meant to cripple it. It is not meant to. I don't believe it's crippling. It shouldn't. It should actually enhance the publishing industry.
Now, for writers out there that feel like they don't know how to communicate this, I mean, what would you say to them? And by communicating, I mean they don't know how to go about this. They don't know about how to go about these steps in getting their intellectual properties out there, and they are still scared of piracy, which of course is a major challenge in the industry. I mean, what would you have to say to them?
You just have to step out. Just step out and do something. Because I don't think anybody steals from the dead in the grave. So the only reason why anybody would want to steal from you is because you are alive, and then they feel that what you are doing is fantastic. So yes, piracy and what have you. That, because the other option is you go to your grave with all the talents, the treasures, and everything you brought. No, step out and do your bit. There are ways, to go about it. The thing is, before people actually start pirating your book, it must have covered it must have a bit of mileage, all right? So in the original sense, you would have touched one or two people. You can't conceal or cover what you have just because you're afraid of, the book being pirated and what have you. Will people steal from you? I think the probability is very high, but you still have something to give out. So step out and do it all the same. Step out and do it all the same, because the world is waiting for you. You have a message, a story, an expertise, an experience that is worth, that is going to be a blessing to people, that people need. The knowledge you have right now, which you should package into a book, is like the bridge that someone needs to be able to get from point A to point B. The books we read from primary school up until uni got us, whether it was our lecturer's handout, it was their intellectual part, it got us to the point where we are right now. And so there are other people on, the journey of life that they need what to be able to move from point A, point B. And the thing is, like I tell my, my aspiring authors, until your title joins, that whatever, the shelf is still incomplete.
Yeah.
It's still incomplete. Yeah. So don't think, people have written about it. No.
Right. Your intellectual property is just as important as it's very useful.
Very, very useful.
It's very useful and it's valuable. So just for us to keep up the momentum, just for us to keep up the knowledge, just for us to keep up passing out information, it shouldn't die with this generation. No. We should keep out.
It's something we need.
Keep on giving.
Yeah.
Giving out. Thank you very much. I think it was quite an informative conversation. The fact that my take home would definitely be that we cannot cripple ourselves just because there is a challenge in the sector. We have to keep doing. We have to keep fighting. We have to see to the end of piracy, which of course is a deterrent to a lot of people that writers. And writers, I feel like you shouldn't be discouraged if you feel like that's your major problem. That's not even the problem. That shouldn't even be the major problem. You should keep on doing, just as she just said. Keep writing, and get your works out there. Don't let the knowledge you have in you die with you. Let us give it out and help the next generation. Let's inform the next generation. That's it. Thank you very much for coming. It was great speaking with you.
Same here.
I hope you've learned a thing or two on today's episode of the Women's Series. It was quite informative, and I would also love to hear from you if you are a writer, if you feel like piracy, or if you share in our thoughts for today, if you feel like piracy is one of your major challenges in the industry. Let's hear from you. I would love to hear from you. If you'd like to reach out to me, send a message to ayomide.oguntoye@appreciate.com to read more of our, watch more of our videos and read our news stories. Log on to www.appreciate.com/webtv. Until next month, yes, which of course is April. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next episode.